was thinking, gosh, I've always wanted to write a book. And if not now, then when?
Then
I mean,
when?
what else needs to happen for me to finally do something that I want to do? That, maybe
it's just about making the decision.
It's making the decision.
It's making, once you decide, then you're on the road. It's like, I'm just going to make the decision. I'm going to write a book. I am going to start today. I'm going to sign up for the 12-week program.
Yeah,
and I am going to, it's just making the decision.
It's making the decision. Here's the other thing that's amazing about entrepreneurs. If you're an entrepreneur, you are a writer. You are writing emails. You are preparing. You are preparing so much content. You can take all that content and make a book out of it.
Yeah.
You can take your podcast and make a book out of it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It's just you already have it already done.
Welcome back to the Mom Wanna Read Show. Today we got Heather Hayes with us. I'm so excited to have you here with us today.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
I'm so excited to dig into your journey.
Thank you.
So share a little bit about who you are and what you do.
Well, my name's Heather Hayes. Like you said, I'm an author who just absolutely loves the writing process. I coach women who want to share their story, either a business story or they're community leaders who have a message to share. So I do that, but also I wrote my book, The Business Diaries, 10 Startup Secrets for Entrepreneurs.
I love that. Yeah. I just started digging into it this weekend. It's so good. I love that you take us on your journey, So share with the audience, take us on your journey on where you are now to where you were before.
Well, so I wrote this book because I had this business for 5 years. I started it when my kids were very young. They were the type of children who refused to nap. So I thought, what kind of business can I open that's great for them and great for me? So I opened an indoor playground in New Orleans, and it was fantastic. It was extremely busy. We were popular. A lot of people celebrated multiple birthday parties with us over the years, and it was fantastic. But from a business side and profit margin, it was very tight and it was extremely stressful. And so after 5 years of this business that I absolutely loved, I decided to sell it. And then something really interesting happened. People in the community started asking me to consult for their businesses. And I thought, well, why would you want me to do that? This has been a really rough ride. And I realized they had no idea what I had been on. And so I did help a few people, but what I really did was write a book. And so I started writing this really long manuscript. It was 90,000 words, and it was very dense. And I kept on thinking, gosh, it's useful, but it doesn't sound like me, and I want it to be authentic. And so I just kept on looking for different ways to publish a book, and I found my coach, and she talked about microbooks and how microbooks are something you can read over the weekend and then implement on Monday. And so I literally hired her and cut 70,000 words out of my manuscript, and that's how I came up with this.
Wow. Yeah. So good. Sometimes, you look at a big book and you're like, oh, I want to dig deep into that. But then it's like, do I have the time? Whereas something like this, you're just like, okay,
It's
easy. It's just a quick weekend read.
Exactly. Yeah. So that's kind of, I just divided up instead of chapters. I said, it's secrets. What are 10 things that I couldn't find on a blog post before I opened? Because I did my research. I was part of all different kinds of incubators, and I had a great business plan. We got funding immediately with it. But none of that mattered because the build out was so difficult. And nobody tells you that. Nobody says, oh, by the way, as soon as you get your big loan and it funds, you're pedal to the metal. And that money's going to be coming and going so quickly. And everything went wrong on the build out.
Wow.
And so...
See, that's what nobody talks about. It's part of the journey, but no one talks about
the journey.
That. Yeah.
And it was nobody's fault. It's just what happened. And so we had to recover from that multiple times. And my purpose of writing this, I always think when you write a book, you want to talk to the person that you used to be, who could have helped me back then. And this speaks to that. Okay. It's for the woman who wants to invest a good amount of money in a startup and really doesn't know where to go from there. They just have an idea, but they don't know what to do with it. I noticed.
It's like, what's next?
It's like, what next? I'm sure people.
How do I go to step 2? I got the idea.
Right.
What's next?
What do I do next? And I'm sure people will ask you, oh, how did you start a podcast? How do I do that? Well, people are emailing me all the time. How do I start this? I'm a teacher. I want to start this. And I thought, that's amazing. It's such a great business, but it's also so expensive. And I want you to have the tools and resources up front so that you're not in the same position. Yeah. It all ended up being a great learning experience, and I don't regret it. And I love it. And I love the people I hired and our team, but it was a lot.
Oh, I bet. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's basically just helping them skip it's like getting from point A to point B quicker.
Absolutely.
Instead of like not sure where to go. And yeah.
It's true. Yeah.
What are the 10 secrets?
Well, the first one I think is really important,
Okay.
and it's that your business plan should reflect your life plan. Today,
Okay.
not everybody writes a business plan for everything they do, but if you are going to go get investors or a significant amount of money from a bank, you're going to have to write some kind of business plan.
Okay.
So when I wrote my business plan, it was the perfect scenario. But what do we know about life?
Right.
It's not perfect.
Yeah.
And so I had, this is how much I'll be working. This is what I'll be, doing. I put myself in every single position. Well, I can't do 5 jobs with 2 little girls who I also want to consider myself their full-time caregiver. And so what I learned is you really have to write the plan that you're going to live.
Mm-hmm.
And as you start is as you go. And so you can't think, as soon as I open the business, everything's going to be perfect and it's going to be smooth sailing, because that's not the way life works.
Yeah.
And so that was my number one takeaway from writing a business plan is, yes, the bank loved it. It was great for investors, but it wasn't real life.
Like, what is your life plan?
Yeah, my life plan. I mean, if I want to be home at 3:00 every day, well, then I can't make myself the manager that closes at 6.
Right. I would like to go to bed at 9 p.m. How is this going to happen?
Right. And that didn't happen for 5 years.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Another really I think is important is self-care is good business.
It is.
I mean, you can't just not eat anymore so that you can run your business.
Sleep. You need sleep. You need to eat. You need to be healthy. You need to be able to exercise.
Yep.
Yeah.
All of those things. I didn't realize that. I thought that being popular meant you were profitable. And I thought that because we were in a small community and we had our competition, of course. We were a friendly competition. It was a fun business to be part of. But I just assumed because everybody else was sold out that they were just making so much more money than we were. And then when we were sold out and we were popular, it still didn't mean that we were hitting all of our numbers that we wanted to hit.
Yeah.
So I think that a lot of times we'll look at somebody else's business who might be a little farther ahead of us and compare ourselves. And it just doesn't honor us because comparison isn't real all the time. And so
because you don't know everything. You're just seeing what you see on the internet, or it's like a highlight reel.
It is.
You're just seeing that, but you don't really know behind the curtain, like what's happening.
You don't. And I remember this one particular day, school had just gotten out for the holidays. It was in December and it was packed. We were so busy. And my girlfriend looked at me from across the playground and she was doing this. And I'm thinking, what's she doing? She looks like a little squirrel. She's like, you're raking in the money. You're raking it in. And I thought, oh my goodness, I can see why she thinks that. Yeah. That is the perception, but that wasn't the reality.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So secrets like that, like those were the kinds of things that I talk about. Really, gosh, what's another one that I know, invest in yourself. I mean, that is the number one thing.
Invest to
grow. Grow.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're an entrepreneur, you have to be investing in your self-development. There's no other way to do it.
Yeah.
And at the time, I didn't realize that. I thought that you could only invest in yourself if you had extra money.
And that's what everybody thinks, right? When I have a little bit of extra money, but when will you ever have the extra money? You're going to get the extra money. You're going to find something else. My business needs this. Yeah. And then you're going to put yourself back, put yourself last.
And when you invest in yourself, you're investing, first of all, you're investing in the person that's teaching you. So I think that's really amazing. And then you're showing everybody else that you're worth it.
Yeah.
You're worth the investment. And then the knowledge that you get is just, you're literally compressing time because you are getting a download from that person of what they know and you can implement it immediately. And so for me, that came in a lot of different forms. The Goldman Sachs 10,000 Small Business Program was really big in New Orleans. They have different incubators all over the country. But for me, I got to be part of that program. And just sitting in a room with 35 other people who had small businesses who had the exact same problems because it was brick and mortar businesses. Yeah. It was the best positivity impact it could have done for me because I realized I wasn't alone anymore. Yeah. So I think, getting in the room, investing in yourself is just extremely important as well.
Yeah. Yeah. What was your biggest hurdle when you first opened up the business?
Okay, so the biggest hurdle when we first opened up was the build out. So we we had a great plan. We had a wonderful architect, and when we went to the city for the plans, they basically shut the whole thing down. And their changes were an additional $200,000
Oh my
into our budget.
gosh.
Yes. And so we had done everything right. We had gone about it the right way. But we were at the point where you're at the point of no return.
Yeah.
Like, do we just walk away from $200,000 and just let it go?
Yeah.
Or do we invest the money and try
And
to
just
recuperate?
keep going. Yeah.
Right. So that was the first hurdle. That was really, really hard. And because of that hurdle, all the other money that I had for other future things, that I was gone now. And so it was a very humbling experience. My husband and I have always been successful. He has a great job in the film business. And so at one point, I was literally calling him saying, I need to make payroll right now. So what are we going to do about that? Because I just paid the contractor. And so it was a very humbling experience. We had never, as adults, been in that position before. And I'm really grateful for that experience because it gave me knowledge of what that feels like. And I think it makes me a better business person now to understand what people go through. And, I think a little humbling is always good because it just teaches you about yourself.
Yeah. I think losing is good sometimes. You know what I mean? Like, because when you're constantly winning and winning and winning, like so my daughter runs track, and I think to myself, it's good sometimes that you're not first. You need to come in second, third, fourth sometimes, you know, because it keeps that hunger within you. It keeps you wanting more, keeps you, that fire under your butt. Yeah.
Yeah, it really does. And it did.
Yeah.
I mean, it made me want to work so much harder. And
sometimes it's not fun, but it's just like, yeah.
No, but then you have one client, we had just this one client that really got to me. She was so wonderful. She was a grandmother, and her daughter-in-law had passed away in her sleep a week before her 3-year-old's birthday party. Wow. And so this grandmother came to our facility and said, I'm lost. My granddaughter is supposed to have a party here in a week. My daughter-in-law booked it, but she passed away and we don't know what to do. And so I think what you do in that situation is just give what you have.
Yeah.
And so I didn't know how to comfort her other than say, we are going to do whatever we can to make your granddaughter feel special, your family taken care of. And after that party, it was when Frozen was really popular. And so we had this beautiful Frozen-inspired birthday party room, and the 3-year-old danced around the whole time and had a great time. And this grandmother wrote us beautiful thank you, and how our party hosts were little angels in her eyes because they just took this horrible day and made it so positive for this little girl.
Yeah.
And I don't think that little girl is ever going to forget it. She's never going to forget her Frozen birthday party when she was 3 years old.
Yeah.
And other people stepped in because her mom couldn't be there. And so at the end of the day, when you feel like my business doesn't mean anything to anybody.
It's just a playground, or it's just
a playground.
Yeah.
But then you take a bigger view, and that was important. A lot of the people who worked for us, our team members, we were the first job these women ever had. So I took that very seriously. I'm their first boss. I want them to know what it means to have responsibility and to show up and not, leave early because there's a party across town.
Yeah.
And so I think there's so many lasting things, but you don't think about that in the moment. You don't think it's important, but it is.
Sometimes when you're in the grind, like you don't see outside, you're just like, I need to do this, I need to do that. Like you just, like it's basically like your to-do list, right? You're like, you're just checking it all off. These are things I need to do. But sometimes like when you just pause and you step back for a little bit and you're like, oh, my business is doing really good, or my business is doing good things.
It is.
Yeah.
And the other thing is when you stick it out when it hasn't been doing well, and then it makes that pivot because you've learned that one thing that does change everything.
Yeah.
And it's not one thing, it's a lot of little things built up.
Yeah.
And then you just think, this is fun now.
Yeah.
Now this is great.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's good to stick it out.
Yeah. It's like now the wheels are turning. Now we're moving. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Take me on some of the other tips on there.
So
you
let's
got
see.
that. So you got your
done
life
4
plan.
of them. Okay. So, you are not alone.
Okay. Because it feels very lonely when you build a business.
Lonely. So I think going back to spending money, a lot of times we say we can't afford to hire someone to help us. And what I will tell you is you will expand your business so quickly when you hire someone to help you. So my form of hiring someone was this wonderful young woman named Erin. And she just would sit with me in PJ's coffee shop, and we would have ideas back and forth.
Right.
And then she was really good at getting things done, whereas I would just keep on coming up with more ideas and I needed to settle. And so she probably saved me so much time and energy just by sitting there with me and bouncing ideas off. So you're never too small to build a team, whatever that is.
Yeah.
You know, it can be anything. It can be a virtual assistant if you want it to be, but just somebody to have around bouncing ideas off of. So I think that's super important.
Yeah. I have Stephanie from the Go Getters collab.
Oh, yes.
Yes, love her. Yeah. And so whenever I'm with Stephanie, so there's something that's called like the visionary and the integrator. So I'm the visionary. I'm the person with all the big ideas and all of that. And Stephanie is my integrator. So I always say it's like we're in the snow globe. It's me and Stephanie. You shake it up and that's all my ideas floating around. And Stephanie looks at me and she's like, okay, Mapu, pick 5. What 5 are we going to work on? So I pick my 5. And then like, she just really helps me like hone in like, okay, if these are your top 5 goals, these are the steps that need to be done, you know?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And we do need that.
We need that. We need, because being a visionary person, sometimes I just have the big dream, but what about the steps? What else do I need, you know? So seriously, for me, working with Steph has been such a game changer in even having this podcast.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I just joined that. That group.
Go Getters collab.
And it's amazing, even in one meeting, what I learned from her.
Yes.
Because I think I'm a creative visionary as well. And so having someone who can do the essentials and teach you how to do that is absolutely so important.
Yeah.
So I love that. Okay. So another thing was a lot of people, when you have a brick and mortar store, people will come and want to sell you things a lot. And so I always look at them as, oh my gosh, they want something from me. They want money from me. They are going to take away my time again. And then one day I just thought to myself, well, what if we flipped that to the other side? And these people are going to be my partners from now on. And so because I had learned that concept of life is 50-50. And so
I say it all the time. Everything's 50-50. Yeah.
Right. And I had learned that before. And so I thought, well, what if they're just my business partners now?
Yeah.
And so one day this gentleman was a sales rep for Party City. First of all, I didn't know they had sales reps for Party City. So I was like, oh, what are you doing in my neck of the woods? And he said, well, you know, I wanted to check out and see how I could help you. And I mean, this was, I just couldn't believe that he was here. And I thought, okay, well, if you want to look around, please do. And he said, wow, you have 3 big party rooms upstairs. And I said, yeah, that's kind of how we do it. They play down here, they party up there. And he said, well, okay, I am a rep for somebody in Mississippi and they have a similar setup. And they actually have put themes in each of their rooms. And then they charge the parties these add-on fees for themes. And I thought, well, that's first of all really fun because now I get to come up with themes.
Yeah.
And maybe we'll make a little extra money. That is one of the biggest things that got us to make money, because now we had 8 themes and I had all these people. I had 12 team members who were super creative, high school and college women who had their crickets and they were very creative and artistic. And we just created all these different rooms inspired by whatever was popular at the time.
Wow.
And people would book with us just because of that over and over and over again. And so he helped me so much in my business when I didn't even know I needed that help.
Yeah.
And so that's just one example. There were many. There were a lot of people in marketing who helped us as well with different, magazine opportunities. But it was really neat to see that change.
Yeah.
And how it worked.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I loved that. Okay, let me tell you like another one. Boring business, but don't fund your loan too soon.
Okay.
So
I just heard that on Cody Sanchez also.
You did?
I listened to something and that's the exact same thing that they said. Yes. Yeah.
Oh, that's so interesting. Okay. So I'll tell you how it played out for us because it really was a problem. And I didn't know getting money was a problem. So we wrote this business plan, my husband and I did. And when we sent it to the bank, they loved it. The first bank hated it. They said, absolutely not. The second bank loved it. And so they said, come on down, we'll sign the papers. And then all of a sudden I had all this money in my bank account.
Okay.
Well, what that did was it accelerated everything. So now I have to sign this lease. Well, I wanted to sign the lease, but as I said, once we signed and started getting into the build out, a lot of things happened. So not only was I paying the monthly fee on the loan, now I'm having all these other problems and I couldn't walk away anymore. I couldn't walk away. So if I had known, I could have slowed everything down. You know, that saying, slow down to speed up.
Yes.
that would have been helpful then.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
But sometimes we get into it. We just get so excited. We're like, oh, I want to go, go, go. Yeah.
Oh, I was so excited.
Yeah.
And I did want to go,
because you're
go,
the
go.
visionary. You're like,
Yeah.
I see the vision. I know that this could happen.
I want my kids to play here tomorrow. So let's just make this
I got
happen.
the money in the bank and let's do this.
Yeah, exactly. So that was a main thing
Okay.
that I wish I had known.
Okay.
So that was number 2 secret
I'm just
in my
thinking of
book.
tips that someone could take away who's wanting to start a business now.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we talked about your life plan has to reflect your business plan.
Yep.
Opposite. Business plan has to reflect your life plan. Don't fund your loan too soon. You're not alone. So that we already talked
Yes.
about that.
Yeah.
Popularity doesn't always equal profitability. So we talked about that.
Yes.
Salespeople as your business partner. Okay. Bad clients teach. Good clients preach. So
Okay. Bad clients teach. Yeah. Because they're teaching you a lesson.
they're teaching you something.
They're teaching you
They're
something that
teaching
maybe
you
your business
something.
is lacking.
Or something about yourself. Because you could not, you maybe your business isn't lacking anything.
Yeah.
But maybe you get so upset.
Yeah.
Well, do I really need to get that mad about somebody saying something about my business? It's their experience.
Yeah.
But when I look around, it's not actually true.
Yes.
And so at first I would cry. I'd go home at night and cry and be like, I can't believe they thought this. That wasn't my intention. I wanted them to have a great time. This is upsetting to me. We take so much pride in how clean it is and how nice everyone is. And it was interesting because some of the people who were the meanest at the beginning apologized about 6 months in. And I would notice them coming back over and over again, but I didn't always work the front because I was trying to work on my business, not in my business.
Yeah.
And so when I would step in to the playground and see them, at one point, this woman, I have a lot of respect for her because she had been extremely difficult on opening day. She was literally on my website and I could see her point at things. And so I went up to her and I said, hi, is everything okay? She goes, well, you said this and on your website and that's not what I'm seeing. And you said this and that's not what I'm seeing. And I was thinking, oh my gosh, I just put $500,000 in this place. I haven't slept for 6 months, whatever. But that doesn't matter. She doesn't care about that. Yeah. She cares about her kids experiencing.
Yeah.
And so they left that day. And what happened was the kid kept on asking to go back over and over and over again. And so when I saw her, she said, listen, I've been here probably 10 times in 6 months. My son loves it. I'm so sorry about what I said the first day. She goes, what I realize is that new businesses are new and they just take a little time to season. Yeah. And she said, it's perfect now. And I'm really sorry I did that to you on your opening day. Yeah. And I thought it was really nice.
Yeah.
But good clients preach. I mean, look, word of mouth is so important in a small community. Hawaii's the same way.
Especially Hawaii. I feel like everybody knows everybody.
Everybody knows everybody.
Yeah.
And it's such a blessing when people can say great things about your business.
Yeah.
But I do think that, even if they don't, it's okay because either you're learning and you can make it better or you're learning about yourself and not taking it to heart.
There's this thing that I heard is that if something hurts, there's truth in it. If it hurts a little bit, there's a little bit of truth. If it hurts a lot, there's a lot of truth in that. And you just have to dig deep into why does this hurt so much? But sometimes, when we're building a business, that's like our baby. Right. It's like we birthed this business. I birthed this baby business and you love this business. And so when someone says something bad, it's like if someone's saying you got an ugly baby or something, or it's like, what? How dare you?
I know.
Yeah.
It is like that. But also what I learned is it's okay if it's not for everybody.
Exactly. That's one big lesson. It's not for everybody.
It's not meant to be.
It's not. No.
It's not.
For everybody.
And, I think the reason why I've decided to do book coaching is because originally I thought, I'm going to teach about these little principles to small business entrepreneurs because I think these are really important things. But what I realized is I was creating the topics to talk about, the challenges. What I actually loved was what you can do with a book for your business, the message that you can get out. And so many people are insecure about their writing and think that, who am I to write a book? I didn't get good grades in English. I don't have a lot of followers.
I think even in Hawaii, it's like we speak pidgin. We don't, it's like broken English. We don't speak fully properly the way other people may speak. So it's like, how am I supposed to even write a book?
It's mindset.
Yeah.
So as I was talking to people about that, they're more interested in actually writing their own book than than talking about what I had learned in entrepreneurship, because there are a lot of coaches that teach entrepreneurship.
Okay.
And what I realize is that is amazing because they're really, really good at that.
Yeah.
But what is my passion? I love entrepreneurship and I love writing and communicating.
Okay.
And so,
did you always love writing?
yes,
even
I
when
have
you
a
were younger?
journalism degree, and I
Okay.
always loved writing. And what I learned, but what I always thought was, oh, I'm just not smart enough, or I don't have a big enough audience. And we've been, I think, taught that because of, the big publishing companies. They're like gatekeepers. No.
Yeah.
And that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that.
It's like no one's gonna want my book, or how am I supposed to get this published? Or
Right. And so now with self-publishing and hybrid publishing, the gatekeepers are gone. If you want to write a book, you should write a book. That's what I tell people. If you feel like you have a book in you, you probably have a book in you.
Okay, so I feel like I have a book in me.
Then you have a book
but
in
it's
you.
like a journal. It's like a
Right.
journal book.
Good.
Okay, but like what do I do? How do I get started?
Well, I can tell you what you do. So first of all, so it's nonfiction, right? Because it's a journal. It's your life. So I guess what I teach people is really the microbook method, which is short, 20,000 words. And so, and why did I do that? I did that because I realized that if people think it's really hard to write a book, well, it's a lot easier to write something that's 20,000 words.
Okay.
It's really easy for readers to read something that's 20,000 words.
Okay.
So you're taking out that part of it.
Okay.
But we break it down into different ways of thinking about the book. How do you want to structure it? What do you want the reader experience to be? There are different prototypes for books. So this is somewhat of a listicle, which means it's a list of articles about things.
Listicle. I like that.
I know, isn't that fun? I didn't make it up. But when you start, you have an idea about something. Okay, I want to talk about business plans. Well,
Okay.
it's kind of boring. But now I want to tell you my personal story about a business plan. Okay, well, now that's interesting.
Yeah.
Because if she could write a business plan, then I can write a business
Exactly.
plan, right?
Yeah.
And so for a book to move somebody, it's about the message. It's not about how it was written. It doesn't have to be perfectly written to matter.
Yeah.
Because we are creative people. We are communicators. And who is someone to tell you can't write a book?
Yeah. Yeah.
Who is that? Some people say, oh, I just don't have time because I work a 9 to 5. Absolutely. So let's figure out how much time you do have. And I'm going to show you in 12 weeks how you're going to get it done.
Yeah.
I'll show you how to do it.
Yeah.
If someone says, I don't have an audience, no, that's how you build the audience. You build the audience from a book. It's the foundation. If someone says, I don't have enough money. I can't do it. I can't do a hybrid publisher. It's too expensive. There's so many ways to self-publish now. It's unbelievable what you can do nowadays. There are if you can't afford a hybrid publisher, there are so many ways to self-publish. So, like I said, the gatekeepers are gone. If you want to write a book, you can write a book. There are a lot of different coaches out there that show you how. So my method is a lot of prompts. And I find that if you can answer a podcast question, then you can write a book, because some tips and tricks include talking into your phone, just telling a story on your phone.
Okay.
So we have an outlining method, and then from there we fill in the stories. And then after you fill in the stories, you can verbalize them in your phone, and then we can get them into a document, and then you fill it out from there.
Okay.
So you're not looking at a blank page and saying, oh, I have to write 60,000 words down. You don't have to. You're going to talk it out. You're going to talk like you're talking to a friend. We're going to choose the prototype that works for you.
Because those are the best books to read,
They
right?
are.
Like it's like when the author is speaking to you, like you're like in basic language, not these big words. It's like, oh, I can definitely follow along on this.
Right.
You know?
And, I was listening to somebody. So I have this dream of writing a fiction book, a mystery novel book. And so I've been following a couple different coaches who do that. And this one woman who I've been following for 4 years now, she said, I really don't like the kind of books that are coming out right now. Who are these people thinking that they're writing these kinds of books? And I thought to myself, why does it doesn't matter.
Then don't buy it.
Don't buy it.
It's like listening to a song. It's like saying, I don't like country music. There's people making country songs. Then turn the channel.
Absolutely.
Turn the page.
There are so many books in the world. We cannot read all of them. We can never get through them in a lifetime. So guess what? It's okay. You write your book you write it, and your readers will find it.
There's
You
this
write
thing
it
I say
you.
for you. Yeah.
For you.
For you.
And your readers will find it. And the people who found my book are not the people who I thought would find my book. They are people who texted me crying saying, I cannot believe that you wrote this. I feel like you wrote it for me. I'm at my life is going in two ways right now, and I can't decide what to do with my business.
Yeah.
And I didn't expect my friend from college to write that to me.
Yeah.
Because looking from the outside in, again, I thought she was having the time of her life in her business.
Yeah.
So nobody can tell you that you can or cannot write a book.
Yeah.
Only you can. You can give yourself permission to do that. And I mean, it's just so important that people understand that their words have value.
Mm-hmm.
Their words have meaning, they matter. And the writing, the actual process of writing and making it into a book, that's where it's valuable.
Mm-hmm.
It has that value both intrinsically, and you can put it out into the world and do something else. And when you do a big goal, like writing a book, people always think it's the pinnacle, but it's not. It's the foundation, because guess what happens? So many more goals and dreams come up once you've done that. So now you can see from a different place that you couldn't see before.
Yeah.
Which I didn't realize. I always thought, I'm just going to write a book someday.
Yeah.
But now I want to write 10 books because it's just so much fun.
Yeah. So you help them go through the steps?
Yes.
Okay. So you have like a 12-week program.
I do. So right now, one of the things I do, and I do this for anybody, I have a group on Fridays at 8 a.m.
Okay.
Hawaiian time.
Okay.
And it's called First Draft Friday. It's completely free.
Okay.
And we just talk about writing tips. And if we have time after questions and answers, we have writing. We never have time for writing. We have so many fun questions that we talk about the whole time.
Okay.
But it's just a way to start. Maybe you're not ready to invest. That's okay.
Yeah.
Let's just invest time. Let's invest time and say that our writing deserves time. That's the first step to anything. And so one of the people who I was speaking with, she didn't know how to make it fun. And I said, well, have you ever read anything by Julia Cameron, The Artist's Way, or any of those books? They're so amazing. And one thing that Julia Cameron always talks about is taking yourself on a artist date. And so I always thought, like, well, I'm not really an artist. I like to write. I'm like, what would author date be like? So I think of two that are my very favorite. One, go to a bookstore and just say, okay, if my book were here, where would it live? Where would it be in this bookstore? And so what is the genre that I write in? And so I love finding all the books that are similar. And then I think it's really indulgent and fun to go to a coffee shop and write. Or it could be in Hawaii, it could be at the beach and write. But just giving yourself an hour to do something and nobody else can interrupt that time.
Yeah.
Because then you're starting to do things that writers do, and then you're a writer.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. So good. So good. It's like if you want to run a marathon, well, go for a walk first.
Absolutely.
And then start from there, get outside, put your shoes on and go for a walk first. It's like, well, you want to be an author? Okay, well, let's start doing things that they do.
That they do, yeah. Be the person that does the writing.
Yeah.
That publishes the book. Yeah.
Okay, let's talk about publishing. Well, how does that process work? Because I'm thinking if I want to do a book, if I sign up for your 12-week program, and you would take me from start and you would help me all the way until it's time to publish, like what's the process?
The first 12 weeks are the first draft.
Okay.
And so from there, people either choose to, okay, I'm going to go edit it myself.
Okay.
And then I'm going to go self-publish. And that's great.
And self-publish is what? Is that like who's actually printing all of this stuff?
Amazon, KDP.
Really?
Yep.
Okay.
You can upload it to KDP, and Kindle Direct Publishing is what that stands for.
Okay.
And you can literally learn how to format it yourself. You can get somebody to do your cover for you.
Crazy, because all this didn't exist just like maybe 10 years ago?
Right. Probably, at least
ish.
I know 15 years ago,
okay,
when I was looking, I did not see any of this.
Okay.
So I don't know exactly when it exploded, but
okay,
I know that now
it's possible.
It's very possible,
okay,
and you can do it for free.
Okay.
Or very little.
Okay.
Now, I didn't go that route. I actually went with a hybrid publisher.
Okay.
Hybrid means you keep all the rights. They don't tell you what you can or cannot put in your book, which was really important to me, because why do it if someone's going to tell you that you can't have the stories that you want to have? So It was important to me that I had complete creative control.
Okay.
But Soulfluential Publishing is the publishing company I use. Jessica DeBry was the publisher. And what she does is she finds you all the people that work on your book, because I wanted it to look professionally done. So she finds the person that does the graphic design for the cover art. And what she did was really fun. She did a contest. So I had 24 different versions of my book cover, and then I got to choose. And then we went from there. She had a professional formatter. So my book is formatted properly. She found an illustrator for little graphics that are inside the book that I, didn't want to make myself. What else did she find? Oh, we had it professionally edited. I think it's absolutely imperative that you have it professionally edited.
Yes.
And then I think that was my entire team.
Okay.
So hybrid publishing means they do all those things for you, and they give you a timeline. So I had already written my book, and I think that if you're going to write a full length, 60, 80,000 words, it's not going to take 12 weeks. It's going to take longer. Depending on how much you're going to work on it, it might take 6 months to a year. I mean, that's okay, whatever timeline you want. But if you're talking about a micro book, we can do it in 12 weeks. And then from there, you send it to the editor. That takes 6 weeks.
Okay.
And during that 6 weeks, you have homework. So you're telling them, what do you see aesthetically for your cover? And so you're doing that whole process. You are creating a launch team, which I can get to in a minute, but you want your friends on a launch team. If you were going to run ads, you would be setting up those ads. So you're doing all the things that you can wait for. Then you get your edited version back. And from there, you make all the corrections. And so then you can choose to have it have it edited again, or if they're just little things here and there, a lot of little grammar, spelling, things like that, then you can just accept them and be done. And then it goes to the formatter. And then the formatter gives you a couple different options, which is so fun. I mean, I never thought about what would my page numbers look like, where would my name be on each page. I didn't think about those things.
That's the thing that you don't even think. Don't ever think.
I mean, I didn't think like he used. I don't know if you can see it on here, but he used my little logo up here of my woman sitting on books. Well, I wanted that because I wanted to write a lot of books. So that's why I wanted her. And so he just did some really fun things for it. And so you really need a formatter so that your words don't come off the page. Or if you're really good at doing it yourself, you can do it yourself.
Okay.
But that's what the formatter does. Then you read through it again.
Okay.
And then it gets uploaded to Amazon. And so this whole thing took about from November to April for me to do.
How much does it cost for a team? Because for me, I'm thinking if I were to write a book, I would definitely need to have a team because I want to make sure it's formatted. I want to make sure it's spelled, like all the things that you just said. What's the cost?
So just for hybrid publishing, not for like the writing part of it, but the hybrid publishing is going to be around $9,000 or $10,000.
Okay.
If you want all of it done for you.
Okay.
If you want somebody to, create a list. Oh, and that includes getting it to be a bestseller.
Wow.
So we'll talk about that.
Okay.
So,
I was like, okay.
Okay. So I use, like I said, Soulfluential Publishing. And what Jessica's story is she helps you find the appropriate ranking system in Amazon so that you can become a best-selling author.
Okay.
And she has a whole way to do that.
Okay.
And so she told me, put together a team. So just to give you numbers, I have about 1,000 friends on Instagram. I have not really used that as professionally. And so when I had Palm Tree Playground, obviously that had its own account and that was big. But this is mine. So I have 1,000 people on Instagram. And then I think I had 50 emails. That was it. And so I was able to become a best-selling author in 2 categories and a hot new release in 2 categories. And so then you get to say, oh, I'm a best-selling author from that. And so she walks you through that whole step.
Okay.
So there are varying. I talked to some people who were $15,000 for hybrid publishing. I talked to some people who were $3,000 for hybrid publishing. It really depends on what you're looking for.
Okay.
I clicked with her, and I knew that she had helped 40 women before me do this. And so I wanted that track record.
Yeah.
And she's just become a friend.
Yeah.
She's a really nice person. So but it depends. What are you looking for?
Okay.
And I think that's with everything. What are you looking for? So anyway, that was my experience with hybrid publishing. It was great.
Wow.
It was a really positive experience.
Yeah. So I want to publish like a journal. So not like a journal like you could read my journal, but I want to publish something that's like a journal where people can have and they can go through and like, because I journal every single day. Yeah. And I have this thing called LSN, DSN that I write. LSN is learn something new. DSN is do something. So every single day I write LSN, DSN. I have where I meal, like what am I cooking for my kids today? Like there's just a system that I have that I would love to create a journal for. So what would be my steps to creating a journal?
There are a lot of places that you can publish this.
Okay.
And so it doesn't have to be Amazon.
Okay.
And I could get you the list, but
I like good paper. I like certain things.
So there are a few places that I've been looking because for my 12-week program, I want them to have a workbook that they get to use. And I've researched a few places and I've ordered samples and they're really wonderful. So there are a few places that you can, there's actually a lot, but there are 3 that I'm looking at. So on those sites, you can actually develop what you want. Like you can they have out formats, and they tell you this is what you're going to set. You can go to Canva and you can create everything in Canva, and then you're going to know exactly how big to make it, and then you're going to upload it to these sites.
Okay.
And that's what you're going to do. And it's really not going to be hard at all.
Okay.
It's really not.
Okay.
Now, if you don't want to do your own Canva, then that's...
I don't mind Canva.
You don't mind Canva. I love Canva.
Yeah, so do I.
Yeah.
I love getting in there and designing stuff.
Okay.
Yeah.
You could do that probably over a week.
Okay.
I mean, you really could. It's not something that would take you too much time if you find the right format that you like.
Yeah. Okay.
So that is very doable.
Okay.
And then you can sell it however you want to. You could upload it to Kindle.publishing, but you could also have it on your own website. You could sell it at one of your events.
Yeah.
I find that, so when people say, well, how do you make money writing a book like this? Because my husband, bless his heart, he's like, so are you going to be on the New York Times best-selling list? I'm like, I wish someday, maybe.
Yeah.
But no, that's not how this works. So the reason why you do a book like this is because you're growing an audience. So if you go speak somewhere, then you make sure you bring 100 copies of your book, and then you sell it at that event.
Okay.
Or you're getting word of mouth out. So I follow the sales girls on social media. They're fantastic, and they talk about how their book made them, I think it was like $1 million. It wasn't because they sold 1 million copies. It was because they have had so much coaching business from their book. And so it's a lead magnet. It's the ultimate lead magnet.
And no one thinks of that though.
No.
Everyone thinks, okay, I'm going to write a book. I'm going to be a best-selling author, and then that's where I'm going to make. But that's the lead into you actually teaching all the things that you
Yeah. And going to speak. I mean, if I didn't write a book, then I wouldn't get to be on a podcast. I wouldn't get to meet interesting people. It gets you into a room, and I think it's really fantastic.
Did you know that when you first wrote your book?
No.
Okay.
I just had a desire.
Yeah.
So what happened do you remember when the strikes happened with the film business in 2023?
Yes.
Okay, so it was that dual strike. So
Yeah.
my husband also, he was working on NCIS Hawaii, and his goal was, okay, once the strikes are over, how quickly can I get people back to work? He loves the crews here. He wanted them back to work. So that was, it was May through November, I think.
Something like that. It was crazy.
So in September, he almost died of a brain injury. And he was so our older daughter had surgery and on her wrist. And I had to call the doctor multiple times to ask them questions. And every time I'd be on hold, and the September was Stroke Awareness Month. And so I'd hear this message about, if you suspect somebody having a stroke, ask them these questions. Well, my husband was acting very strained one afternoon, and I thought, okay, it's stress. He hasn't been employed for a while. It's really causing him a lot of stress. And then I thought, wait, maybe I should ask him some questions that I learned on the phone waiting. And he wasn't having a stroke, but he was having a subdural hematoma. And if I had waited any longer, within 4 hours, the surgeon said he would have died.
Wow.
And so he gets his surgery. We're in recovery. It was the perfect scenario for what had to happen for him to survive and be healthy. And so I credit that surgeon a lot. But while I was sitting there, I was thinking, gosh, I've always wanted to write a book. And if not now, then when? I mean, what else needs to happen for me to finally do something that I want to do? That, maybe
it's just about making the decision.
It's making the decision.
It's once you decide, then you're on a road. It's like, I'm just going to make the decision. I'm going to write a book. I am going to start today. I'm going to sign up for the 12-week program. Yeah, and
exactly.
It's just making the decision.
It's making the decision. And then guess what I got to do? I got to join Oak and Pine because now I had something of service. Yeah. And now I could meet all these new entrepreneurs that I had never met before.
Right.
So now I had a community.
Yeah.
And then I got to be on radio shows and podcasts and meet people and lead sessions. That wouldn't have happened if I hadn't had a book. Yeah. And you don't have to have a book. You can have something else.
I never thought of it as a lead magnet though, but that's so smart.
It's the ultimate lead magnet. I mean, you can even give it for free if you want to. I mean, it really is. Yeah. You can do that. And I mean, it opens so many doors that you don't think about.
Yeah. Okay, so you've built multiple businesses. So you did the playground, you did this. Now you have your 12-week program. Is there anything else that you have?
That's it.
That covers it. I'm like, is there anything else under there?
No.
Okay, so building all of those businesses, what have you learned? Like, what's the biggest lesson from going through all of those businesses?
So, going through all those businesses, I've learned that it's not about what you do, it's who you are, and your job will reflect who you are if you're being honest with yourself. Yeah. And so a long time ago, I wanted to write a book called Professional Authenticity, and I interviewed all these women, and they all were women who were super successful but had failed first, and they had a huge pivot And then they found the career that made them who they were.
But those are the really juicy, interesting stories
They were
to
juicy
me.
and interesting, and they were fabulous. But what happened was, as I was doing those interviews and writing up what I learned, the first woman I interviewed changed again. So now my book wasn't going to be relevant because she was on to the next career.
Yeah.
And so that's when I ended up writing my business plan instead, because I thought this is going to take forever to publish because we didn't have the publishing that was self-publishing at the time. And what I learned from all those women, I think I interviewed 10 or 15 of them. They were all authentic in what they did, and their job did not define them. They defined their job. And because I always thought like, oh, you're a lawyer, you're so smart. Well, that woman could have done anything. She could have done anything. She chose to be a lawyer. She chose to be a doctor, but she could have done anything, and they all have value. And so the job doesn't always, it's not what makes you valuable. You are valuable because you are.
Yeah.
And so that's what I learned.
Yeah.
And so I've had a lot of different jobs, but what I want to focus on now is helping other people get their stories out, because I think people, especially women, make themselves small and don't want to do the next step because they don't want to be ridiculed, and they don't want people making fun of them and saying like, who does she think she is writing a book? And
there's this thing that I say, and I think I said it earlier, it's for you. So when someone's like, you shouldn't write a book, for you. It's the biggest F you out there, girl. It's for you. You know what I mean? Like, who do you think you are? Like, maybe then you don't write the book.
Exactly.
I want to write a book.
Right. It's just what I want to do.
Yeah. But I feel like women tend to a lot, like we worry about everybody else but ourselves.
Right.
So that's why when you said like, what is your life plan besides your business plan? You need a life plan, because we have to start putting ourselves first.
Yeah.
You know, like, what do you want? Do you want to write a book? Write the book.
Write the book.
Write the book.
And here's the other thing that's amazing about entrepreneurs. If you're an entrepreneur, you are a writer. You are writing emails. You are preparing.
Oh, yeah.
You are preparing so much content. You can take all that content and make a book out of it.
Yeah.
Just you can take your podcast and make a book out of it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It's just you already have half of it already done.
Yeah. But I think we don't realize that we already have half of it done. Yeah.
No, we think it's this huge thing, but it's not a mountain. It can be if you want it to be, if you want to indulge in it. I think
or it could be a weekend read.
Or it could be a weekend read. It'd be a short microbook.
Yeah.
And they're both great.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
If you could give advice to a woman who's just starting right now, who's maybe listening and thinking of, wanting to write a book, what's the best advice you're going to give to her besides signing up for your 12-week program?
Right. Well, besides that, okay, so I would say trust yourself.
Okay.
Because if you have a desire to do something, I think that you have every gift and talent in order to do it. And what things look like are not actually the truth. So if you think, oh my goodness, I'm just not in a position. I got that F in high school in English, and I
was told I'm not a good writer.
I was told I wasn't smart, and I don't have a huge group. None of that matters.
Yeah.
Because you have a story, and your story being told will resonate with just the person who needs to hear it. There is someone in the world right now waiting for the book that you want to write, and you have to be brave enough to write it so that person can read it, because they can't read it unless you've written it. And so I would say trust yourself and be brave enough to write it. And the people who want to try to knock you down and say, look at her, well, those aren't the people you want to be around anyway.
Yeah.
Anybody more successful than you is not making fun of you.
Exactly. A lot of times the people more successful than you are willing to extend a hand and be like, hey, let me help you.
Those are the biggest cheerleaders. The people who are doing it already, they're like, you want to be part of this? Let me show you how, because it's so amazing up here.
Yeah, totally.
And I didn't know that. I thought that they wanted to keep it to themselves. But those people aren't scarce. They don't have scarcity mindset. They have abundant mindset. And I didn't know what that was before. But they're like, come on, there's room for everybody.
Yeah. And let me help you. Let me show you the way. I've been there. I know exactly what you're going to go through. Let me help you.
Exactly. Yeah. So I would say all those things to her, and just tell her I believe in you. I know you can do it. I know you can do it just exactly how you are right now. And if you want help and you want a coach, then great. But you are enough.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. So if someone wants to sign up for your 12-week program, where do they go to?
So my website is heatherhayes.co. So HAYS, heatherhayes.co. It's all on there. And I have a couple different things that, depending on where you are in your writing process and how you feel about writing, it will match what you want to do.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome. I'll be in there. Maybe I'm going to start writing a journal.
I love it. I
Yeah.
think you'd be amazing. You're so inspirational.
I'm
I think that would
excited.
be really fantastic.
It's on my list of things for 2025.
Oh, it is?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh,
But I just
okay.
didn't know. I was just thinking like, okay, let me just try to figure this out. And I was thinking of maybe I'll start it after the event.
Well, that's perfect then.
Yeah.
Second half of the year. Well, May.
Yeah.
So second half of the year. Yeah, you got
Yeah.
it.
So, and then and then maybe hopefully it'll be done by next year, 2026. I'm hoping. So we'll see. We'll see what happens.
You
Yeah.
could definitely do that. So be ready for the holidays. People can buy it and get ready for January.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's
All right,
totally
here we go.
doable. That is done and
And now
done.
I have a journal.
How amazing.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited for that. Yeah, thank you. Thank you for being here. Thank you for
Thank
sharing
you.
all that you did.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me.
I loved it.
It's been so
Thank
fun.
you.
Appreciate it.